I'm sure at some point you ask, why? Why is it so difficult? Why golf is so difficult? Well, I asked the same question, but I think I find some answers. So let's talk about it. But first of all, I'm Mr. D, but you, my friend, you can call me Thomas. I make videos about my journey trying to master the game of golf, and as I go, I share my thoughts, my experience, so you can improve as well. So let's get to the topic of today, which is golf. The difficulty. Why is it so difficult? It's come down to a very simple principle that you need to keep in mind. Action, reaction. Every action you are doing back is going to cause a reaction moving through. And so everything that you are doing on the backswing have a consequence in the things that you are doing in the downswing. And if what you are trying to do in the downswing is on the opposite of what you are doing on the backswing, then you have conflict. And this conflict makes the golf swing very difficult because you think, okay, I'm just need to do that and then I do that. Yes, but if you do that, you cannot do that. That's simple. And so this is where things get very tricky, because if you don't know actually what are the consequences of what you are doing moving back, and you are trying to do things moving through, and you are not understanding why you are not able to do it, this is just a nightmare. This can become a nightmare. And so that's why I want to share with you some examples that you may reflect on, that can help you in order to improve your game. But if at some point you like the video, don't hesitate to smash the like button and simply smash it. So let's talk a little bit. I'm going to share my screen in order for you to visualize a little bit more what I'm saying. And let's get with a very simple start, which is the when you are moving back. You can see here my club is moving on a plane, and that's a pretty neutral plane, which a little bit above shoulders. But what you need to understand with the plane is the more inside you start, the more it will, in terms of action reaction, is going to be much more easy to then come over the top, which in order to create a more exterior interior path. But the more exterior, which is further from you, you're taking the club away. I'm doing it a little bit. You can see when I say the exterior, it's a club that is pointing like that, which is a lot further in front of your hand. And the club that is moving more inside is going to be a club that is a little bit more behind your hand. And so the action reaction of that is the force that because you have this, you are the center of the rotation plane. And so if the club is traveling in front of it, as soon as it reaches the top, it will have to pass toward you, which is the center. And so if it's in front, then it's going to be pushed away on the other direction, which is inside. So if you start outside, it's much more likely that you are going to come inside on the way down. And on the opposite, if your hand are on the opposite of what I do, which your club face is on the opposite of what I do, which is more inside, then it's going to be much more easier for you to come over the top. So this is action, reaction, principle. You need to remember that. Then the next is going to be, the other example is going to be about the right elbow. You see a lot of people talking about the chicken wing and so on, but it depends on what you want to do in the downswing. What I mean by that is, let's come back to, what I mean by that is, you have your right arm. If you're rotating your right arm like this and you're turning, you're putting your arm in a position where the only movement that it can do is actually that. So if in the downswing, so this can be good typically people that are rotating a lot may want this elbow to actually rotate externally as they are moving down, in order to give space to the lower body to turn. But if you want actually to do the opposite, to during the dancing having your right elbow that is moving in front, well, you need to let this elbow fly on the way back, because if it fly, if you are getting to the end range of motion of your shoulder, then it can only go back in front. And so this is, as I said, also action reaction, and it depends on what kind of playing you want. Typically, if you have this elbow that is doing that and then you are doing that, this will help the club moving over the top a little bit, and which is what people that are rotating too much with their lower body want, because rotating a lot with the lower body, you can have the club that is going a little bit too much from the inside. So having the elbow that is doing that help bring the club more in front actually. And on the opposite side, if you are struggling with the opposite, which is having the going too much over the top and so on, that might be a good idea to just let your elbow fly a little bit and then bring it back in front of you, in order to bring the club back more inside. That can be a way, action reaction, as I said. So the next one that we can talk about is going to be the club face. So let's share again my screen. Well, you see here, I'm a little bit close. What happens if you get close at the top of your swing, then reaction, the club face is going to want to open. That's as simple as that. And on the opposite side, if you have the club face that is open, a lot open on the opposite direction at the top, it's going to want to close. And so this is action reaction that can cause you, depending on what you want to do, depending on what your system is about, your golf system is about, can cause trouble. Let's take the example of Dustin Johnson, which has a very strong club face at the top, but in his system he also have a very strong grip. And so the issue with a strong grip can be that the club face is closing very fast in the downswing, and actually you are making hooks. But with a closed club face at the top, the club face actually is doing the opposite. It wants to open. So he has a strong grip with a closed face at the top. So they are kind of cancelling each other. So at impact, you arrive with pretty much a very square club face. And he was struggling with, and since he started, it fades. Everything's clicked together, and he is one of the best players in the world. And he wins the Masters, he becomes #1 in the world, and so on. But here you can see why, okay, having a club face that is shut for Dustin Johnson work, because, as I said, he have a very strong grip, and so he need to, I don't know if he figured it out, or if for him it's just the way he swing, but that's why it's efficient, is because then when it come down, the club face open, and just it doesn't have the issues that a lot of people with a strong grip have. And on the other hand, you have Tony Finau, which have a very, very weak grip. And what you can see in his practice swing and so on, he tried to have his club face completely open at the top of his backswing. And even exaggerate it a lot, because this is going to help him rotating the club face aggressively through impact in order to compensate the fact that he have a weak grip. So this is the action reaction about the club face. What else can we speak about? Also the weight shift, the way you are shifting your weight. If you shift your upper body to the right, then it's going to want to go to the left. That's as simple as that. You cannot shift back to the right and just stay to the right. That's going to be very uncomfortable. That doesn't make any sense. And that's why generally you want to have your lower body that is moving to the right and then to the left, and keep your head very centered. But and that's the very interesting part, because in weight shift, if you intentionally try to shift your weight to the right, then you are going to do it too much, because there is also an action reaction where but it's just on the takeaway and the backswing, where if you shift your weight, you are preventing the club from moving, and so then you move your club, and then the club is going to pull you and shift your weight even more, so you are going to stay a lot behind. But anyway, that's a little bit more complex. We will maybe talk about it in another video. And finally, the last example I want to talk about is going to be a flat backswing and actually across the line backswing. So with my wedges, I tend to be a little bit across the line, this is what I don't want, because the consequence of having a club that is across the line is going to then, the reaction is going to come from the inside. You can see here, if I continue, the club is dropping inside. Where maybe so I generally do it very often with my wood, so probably we're going to have one. I work so much on it that I very rarely do it now. Yeah, here I'm a little bit flat, which cause then the club face to I compensate so much, but the main point is, if it's across the line, it's going to come from the inside on the way down, and if it's flat, it's going to come more over the top. And so a club that is going to across the line, that is going to promote a more inside out pass, is going to help you with the ball on a flat angle of attack or slightly up. That's helping. And on the opposite side, the club that is flat, that is going to come a little bit over the top, is going to help you hit the ball down. And so this is why you want, with the driver and the wood, to have your club pointing a little bit more to the right and not to the left like here, and with the wedges on the opposite, you want to do the exact opposite, which is actually having the club that is pointing towards the left, and not like I do it here. Here, this is what you don't want, because with a short club, this is something I already talked about in other videos. You tend to have a club pass that is much more inside, just because the club is shorter and lighter, and the ball is moving. No, that's primarily because of the swing plate that is more vertical, because the club is shorter, and the ball is backward. Not necessarily the weight, even though the swing weight and the weight of the club may impact, but it's less. And so anyway, so with the short club, the tendency is already to be very inside. So you don't want to have this kind of backswing, because if you do that, the club pass is going to be even more inside, and so this is going to, either you're going to push the ball or hook it. So what you want is actually a flat a club that is moving towards the left, right here. So then it helps you coming more on plane and the ball down. Yeah. so all of that is okay. Now you understand the action reaction, but I want to go a little bit further to help you, because this is just some example, but there is thousands of them. The golf swing is a lot of different pieces that are working together, and there is all the time action reaction. And so what you can do, but before, just put it in the comment section what you think about what I thought, my thoughts and what I said, and maybe you have some idea on how we can solve this difficult aspect of the game. And so here is my thoughts. You should always think about the second order consequence. This is a principle that used a lot in chess, where you're actually not you're doing something, but thinking about the consequence that is going to have in the future and in the future. So you have the first order consequences, which is in order to hit the ball, in order to hit the ball longer, I need to have a longer backswing. That's the first order consequence. So you say, okay, then I take my backswing as long as I can, and I'm going to hit the ball longer. Then what's the second order? The second order consequences is you are going to do overswing. You are going to put your body in a weak position where it's difficult to activate muscles, and also create imbalance in the way you are moving in your backswing, and depending on your flexibility, also is going to maybe hurt yourself. So that's the second, third, and fourth order consequences. And also, you are going to struggle with contact and so on. Okay, first order consequences, second order, third order. So always ask yourself when you're trying to do something, okay, what is, depending on where it is, if it's in the backswing, the takeaway, and so on. If it's in the takeaway, try to think, okay, what is the consequence in the backswing? What is the consequence then in the transition? What is the consequence then in the downswing? Here you're already starting to think a lot. The closer you are to the ball, the less time you have in your swing for a lot of complex consequences. So the closer you are to the impact of the ball, the easier it is to actually make change. And the further you are from the ball, the more drastic the impact of those changes are going to be on the ball. And so that may help you. It's easier once you're stable on the way you're doing your backswing transition and so on. It's easier to actually just switch what you're doing at impact than it is to switch what you're doing at the takeaway and backswing, because then this creates a lot of second, third, and fourth order consequence that is going to make you just have some big headaches. And but that's also not entirely true. That's true. That's 80%. That's the 80-20 principle, where that's 80% of the time that's true. But even if you are modifying some stuff in the downswing, you can have consequence backward in your backswing. So pay attention to that. That's a little bit more complex, but typically one of the things that I have understand that on the way back, so the reverse action reaction, the reaction of the action, which is I want in my downswing with my driver to actually rotate my left arm outside. But the issue with that is if I'm doing that in the downswing, then it forces as a reaction the top of my backswing to be less across the line and more flat. And so I need actually to be even more across the line before I do that, in order to, when I do that, be somewhere where I want. So this is another action reaction, but that comes from doing something in the downswing that is going to have a reaction in the transition and backswing. But that's a lot advanced. That's a lot further out in terms of understanding of your swing. If you are already understanding the base of action reaction in your swing, I think you're good to go. So thanks you for watching, and I see you next time.